One way to isolate a region within a clip so you can apply secondary color correction to that region is to use the track matte key. Now the track matte concept is sometimes a little bit difficult to grasp, so to see how it works, go to Working Files, go to Premiere Pro Projects, going down here to track matte and open that up. Now usually when you work with the track matte key, you have some kind of a graphic called a matte, and that matte usually defines some region within the clip that you want to isolate. So in this case, we're going to make a graphic that isolates the shape of this headstone. The reason we want to do that is I want to make the headstone a little bit brighter while making the background darker. Over here on this shot, I want to make this little rock darker because it's kind of distracting from the view of the ocean here. Then I want to adjust the color of this background a little bit. All right, to set things up, I want to duplicate these clips. So go back over here. I want to duplicate this video clip by holding down the Alt or the Option key and dragging up like that. That duplicates just the video portion. Do the same thing for this clip. Hold on the Alt or the Option key and drag that up. We now have duplicates of it. The reason we have duplicates is that we're going to apply the track matte to the top clip. So we isolate this headstone, for example, on this clip, so we can work on just the headstone here by itself. Now I need to create the matte. I need to create the graphic. And the easiest way to do that is with the titler. So I go over here to Title, and I go New Title, Default Still. I'm going to give it a name, Headstone, and I click OK. That opens up the titler. It's a bit large right now. Let me shrink it down just a bit. There we go. That works fine. Pull this in a bit like that. You can see some of these controls on the right-hand side. All right, I want to draw an outline around this headstone. To do that, I use the pen tool. Now, if you haven't worked with the pen tool, we're just going to draw an outline around here. If you just click, you add points, and there'll be straight lines between the points. If you drag in the direction you're going, then you add handles that you can use to create little curves. So I'm going to do both things here. First thing I do is that I start off screen here because we do go off screen here. So I click down there to start off screen. Then I start adding some points. Since it's round here, I'm going to click and drag that. Keep on going, another handle. Click that corner there, up here. Another handle there by dragging there. Going up to the top there because it's a straight line. And just add a bunch of points here. Now this may not be perfect because we're kind of zipping along here. But we can also adjust these things later. We're not cut in stone here, if you want to call it that. Down to the corner there. Keep on going down. Notice how the bounding box keeps expanding based on where we put our little points here. Go there, add a little curve there. Down a bit there. Clicking and clicking and clicking, and sometimes I click and drag. A couple more spots here. Go off the bottom like this, and then connect with the first vertex by just hovering over it until I get a little circle in the lower right-hand corner of the pen tool there. See a little circle showing up there? And click there to close it off. All right, we have an outline here. I don't want just an outline. I want to fill it in. So we have a graphic type here called a closed Bezier. I'm going to click on this and go to Filled Bezier. To check our work, I'm going to drop the opacity of the fill right there by bringing it down so we can see what's underneath it. I can see places where there are gaps. I'm going to go back here and click on this little plus there, the pen tool with a plus to add an anchor point. I think I'll add one right there. Pull that down just a little bit to kind of fill in that gap there. And maybe this guy should be moved up a bit, so I'm going to take the irregular pen tool and click on U. Move it just a bit like that. Things shouldn't be quite so straight like that. I'll add another point there, like so. All right, I think that's acceptable, so I'm going to take opacity back to 100% and close this down. That automatically saves that title. Go back to the project panel, and there's our headstone title. I'm going to put it above this clip here. I could put it on any track above that clip, but we're putting it directly above it in this case. All right, now I want to connect this graphic that's now covering up the stuff below it with this clip below it so that I isolate that region on the clip. This white area will go away once we use the track matte key down here and say this is the thing we want to use as a matte. The track matte key automatically turns off its visibility here. So let's go get the track matte key, go to Effects, go to Video Effects, and go down to Keying. There it is. I'm going to drag it right to this upper clip there, the top headstone clip. Nothing happens, nor should anything happen yet. Go back to Effect Controls here. We need to tell the track matte key where the matte is. Click on this drop-down list, and it's on video 3. That's the only choice because it's the only thing we've got a video clip on. So I click video 3, and now it looks like nothing happened. But in fact, we've isolated this from this clip below it, and you can see that by turning off visibility on the lower clip. There is our little headstone. I see some light kind of showing through there and here and there. We could go back to the titler to fix these guys, but I'm going to show you another way to work on that using a blur effect. So there you go. You've now isolated it. I want to make it brighter. So I'm going to go back to Effects and go on down to Color Correction and get Luma Curve. Apply that to that clip. So I just double click on it to apply it there. Go to Effect Controls, and let's turn on that bottom track now so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to increase the brightness of the midtones by just pulling this up like that. And you can see we're making the headstone brighter just like that. I can see there's a bit of a halo around the edge there. We're going to fix that using a blur on the mat. Not on the headstone, but on the mat to blur the edges of that. So right now I think we're a little bit too bright, but I want you to see what's going on there. So let's apply a blur to this mat. Let's go back to Effects, go to Blur and Sharpen. We'll apply the Gaussian blur to this headstone mat. I'm going to isolate it so you can see how it works. I'm going to turn these other guys off. I want to blur the edges a bit. Let's go back to Effect Controls. Switch on the repeat edge pixels, otherwise we're going to get an edge here showing up. So we'll turn that on so we don't get the little edge showing up, and just increase it just a bit, just to get the edges just a little bit softer. See how that works? Just a little bit soft. All right, let's turn these guys back on and see how that worked. Pretty good, I think. Let's make the background darker now. So going down to this bottom clip, we're going to apply Luma Curve to that as well. Go on down to Color Correction, Luma Curve, and double click on that. Apply it to the bottom clip. Effect Controls. We'll pull down the midtones there. Something like that. You can see we've got some work here to fix that up. We can go back to the titler to fix that. But I think you see how that works. It's probably a little too dark, and the headstone's probably a little too bright. But I do want to show you how you can isolate this and change the luminance of it. All right, let's do something but kind of in reverse for this coast shot here. I want to make that guy darker. So let's do the same process. I think if we do it twice, you'll get a sense of how this works. So I want to go to the titler. This time I'm going to take a different route. I'm going to go to the project panel, click on the new item icon here, click on title down here. I'm going to call this one Coast. And I want to draw an outline for this rock. So I'm going to use the pen tool again and start off screen like this. Start coming in here, drawing my points like that. And again, this will be a rough drawing. I'm trying to just zip through here and not take too much time to do this. Do a few more here. We'll check our work when we're done again, just to kind of refine it a little bit anyways. A couple more to go here and we'll wrap this up. Going down off the edge of the page there and come back here to this corner down there and go back up to the beginning, getting that little circle there below the pen tool to close that off. You need to change this from a closed Bezier again to a filled Bezier. And it fills automatically with white. Let's drop the opacity to check our work. Pretty good job. I think we could probably work down here a little bit, so I'll add another point down there. Maybe round it off just a little bit. Maybe lift this one up just a tad like that. Something like that. We could do some more work here, but I think that's good enough for our purposes here to see how this thing works. Put the opacity back to 100% again. Close this down. It saves it automatically. Let's put that coast title above here. And we'll extend it all the way to the end there. Now you see we've got this white mat covering things up. But we're going to connect it to this clip here by applying the track mat key to that clip, the upper clip. Go to Effects. Going down to Keying again. The track mat key to that clip by double clicking on it. And while we're at it, since I want to make it darker, I'm going to apply the Luma Curve effect to that as well. So you can take two things at once here. Go back to U, Effect Controls. Need to connect the track mat to the mat. You see the mat is on track 3. Notice that I have Mat Alpha here selected for the property for composite using. The reason I use the titler is that it has an alpha channel, a transparency. When you use the Mat Alpha selection here, that means that the transparent areas will allow you to see what's below this clip here in the timeline. I could click on reverse and that would switch things around, but most times I just take it in the straightforward manner like this, such that when I create something inside the titler, that part is opaque and everything else is transparent. I could choose Matte Luma if I've got some luminance, bright areas and dark areas, but for the most part, I'm going to use the titler, and I'll use Matte Alpha here. All right, now we've isolated this, and we can prove we've isolated it by turning off the lower layer. There's our rock. Let's make it darker by pulling the midtones down here. Pretty obviously darker now, but again, there's kind of this little edge to it there. You can sort of begin to see a little bit of an edge there. We can apply a blur to the mat itself, not to the clip down here, not to the rock, but to the mat. So go to Effects, go back up to Blur and Sharpen, Gaussian blur to that by double clicking on it. Click on U, go to Effect Controls, make it a little bit blurry, like maybe around 20 or so to soften it up just a bit, or 15, something like that. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom one here. I want to change the color of the whole scene here. I go to Effects, I go to the Fast Color Corrector just as a quick way to do that. Double click on U to apply it to this bottom clip. Go to Effect Controls, and let's just form it up just a little bit like so. Now it actually kind of matches this clip, but you see how that now blends in and doesn't stand out and distract your eyes from the whole scene here. So the track matte key is an effective way to isolate a region within a clip, and it's very easy to create a track matte simply by using the titler. Now if this clip were in motion, or that object were in motion, you need to follow it by creating a traveling matte key. I'll explain how to do that in a separate video.